Darkness Falls, we are back. My old Darkness Falls farming guide is now burning in hell. It needs an update. Our guide today is related to growing crops using farm plots, Raincatchers and hoeing the soil, as well as whether to use farm plots or hoe the soil. We touch on scarecrows, mushrooms in particular, how long it takes to grow crops, and finally we will do a farm demonstration at the end. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the glorious Raincatcher, the pride of Darkness Falls farming for many years. It still is here, it still works, but right now, not in the way it used to. Coming in a future guide, I will soon be updating my tree farming, irrigation, and underground farming guides as well. So check out the link below in the comments, I will update it in the future. Farming in Darkness Falls has some differences to vanilla. Well, obviously, we would not be doing this guide otherwise. First, you do not lose your crops at harvesting. It is one of my most disliked vanilla features, but in Darkness Falls, when harvesting your crops, the seeds stay where they are and the plant will regrow automatically. The farmer class also has a super tool for harvesting. This is called an iron hoe. Harvest your crops with this bad boy and you will get an increase in crop yield. Don't get mixed up with the low-end scrap hoe. The scrap hoe is not dependent on class, so anyone can use her for farming. Seeds are found throughout the map, similar to vanilla. However, you use a mortar and pestle to craft your crops into seeds. Crops can be planted in either farm blocks or directly on hoed or tilled soil. Which is better? Well, farm blocks are more expensive, and tilled land is cheap. It's free. However, farm blocks are more easily to use when you are on buildings, while you need to be a little bit more creative with your topsoil if you want to get it onto a building. Personally, I just love the uniformity and the neatness of farm blocks, so I prefer them. I prefer to spend the resources and to get these little babies down. By all means, use the cheaper hoeing option if you wish. Farm blocks are required for underground farming, but that is for another video. Now, let us talk about water and look at the changes related to using Raincatchers for your farm. Water is still required by your farm, otherwise they will never grow. In old versions, rain itself would contribute to helping your crops grow. This does not appear to be the same anymore. After spending nearly 2 in-game weeks, the rain made no difference at all to the crops in Darkness Falls version 5. Again, we have our little rain barrel. The Raincatcher previously provided water to the surrounding plants. As the water was provided, the plants would consume it. However, it is currently only used to make buckets of water. It is not an object that can be used directly on your farm anymore. You can place the Raincatcher in a hole, or like I've done over here, on a frame block. Effectively anywhere you can put the Raincatcher. If you click on the catcher, it'll open up and allow you to place up to 3 buckets in the right side. There are upgrades to the catcher, such as making the catcher hold up to 3 times as more water, or a top that allows you to increase the collection speed. Once you have placed at least 1 bucket into the catcher, it will automatically fill with water over time. When a bucket is full, if you are close by, you will hear the familiar sound telling you this. You can then take the buckets out and use the water elsewhere. So do not farm in the way that you used to with the Raincatchers. That mechanic is not there currently. We will have to see what happens when Kane gets around to updating Darkness Falls to version 1. I will pin a comment to let you know if this guide is still useful once Kane releases his next version, which, going on recent announcements from Kane, is probably going to be a lot later this year. So, if you're not using a Raincatcher anymore, what are you going to use? Well, simply put, a bucket of water. Once a bucket is full, then remove it from the Raincatcher. Take it over to a 1-block hole in the ground and pour it into the hole. The pour action is a right click. Then the surrounding crops will be fed with a single hole of water. You also don't have to refill or top up the water at any time. I will do an example of hoeing and creating a farm just now, so if you're unsure how it works, I will do a step-by-step demonstration very soon. As before, there is a limit on how many rows or plants a single water source will feed. On this field of corn, I have used farm plots. There is a single water source, a 1-block hole with water in it. This is just a cutaway or half a farm so that you can easily see the water source. With this, it allows us to have a total of 5 rows away from the source. As you can see, rows 6 and 7 are not growing as the water does not reach them. So the current radius is 5 blocks away from the water source. Now, if we combine this into a single farm with the water in the center, we see the overall pattern. As before, we have 5 rows surrounding the center source of water. I added some extra crops so you can more easily demonstrate the dead area. From above, we see that there is 11 by 11 square. The center hole of water is never consumed, but the crops just do a check to see if the water is available and will then grow. As before, you still can plant near water sources like rivers, lakes, and swimming pools. These crops that are planted next to the lake have no problem in growing. At the swimming pool, we can demonstrate that all crops are growing, and you will see again it stops after 5 rows away from the swimming pool water source. Now, how long do crops take before you can harvest them? Well, in Darkness Falls, on a default 60-minute day, it takes around 2 to 3 in-game days to see the fruits of your labor, which is about 3 hours in real time. If you plant crops on day 3, expect to harvest sometime on day 5 to day 6, as long as you have water. It will be quicker after the first harvest. Fertilizer, which you can craft through the farmer class, is used to speed up growth. Unfortunately, it is broken as hell, and hopefully it will be fixed in version 1. So you can use it, but it will cause farming to be frivolously easy. It's a bug that can be exploited, so it's up to you whether you want to use it or not. Darkness Falls does not increase or decrease crop yield based on temperature or game difficulty. Thanks to Punished Lion on the Darkness Falls Discord for testing difficulty settings and confirming that whether you're playing on the max high level or on a much lower level, it makes no difference to how quick your crops will grow. Right, demonstration time. Creating a farm by hoeing or tilling your land. No farm plots required, just soil. So, first of all, find the area that you want to use, preferably a flat area. I'm not going to do a large farm for the demonstration, just big enough to get the idea of how it works. Now, especially for new players, you can put down frame blocks over the patch of earth that you wish to use. Most players are not going to bother with this, so this is just a method that you can use to help you while hoeing. First, it levels the ground a bit. The second reason is that it removes much of that annoying grass that is littered all over the place. Not that you can't remove that while hoeing, but I get tired of hoeing and having to remove the grass at the same time during that process. The third purpose is that it also functions as a ruler or a means to keep you going in that straight line when hoeing. Once the blocks are down, go back and pick up the first row, and then return by hoeing the ground. The action is a right click of your mouse. If you instead left click, you will end up damaging the soil. With the blocks on either your left or right keeping you in a straight line, you should not have a problem with the hoeing. Once the first row is complete, skip a row of blocks and then remove the next one. Then just repeat the hoeing of the soil for that row. Again, the straight line between the blocks is easy to follow. You can keep going until the whole farm and the whole field is completely done. Finally, plant your crops on the hoed land. In the center, you will need a 1-block hole. You can get a bucket of water from your Raincatcher and pour it into the hole. And that is it. You are done. Now it is just to wait for your crops to grow. Here I have a field. I built it on an annoying incline. The water hole is in the center. I also added some bars on top of the hole just to help keep things from falling in. I also wanted to show that you can increase your yield by a simple little technique. When you combine the hoed land with farm blocks, you can also use the spare space that is between the hoed rows. In between each row, we have a farm plot. If you add a normal crop between the rows, you will see obviously it is not going to work because that land, that area there has not been hoed. But by placing a farm plot, you can then plant your crops onto the farm plot and use the space in between. And this makes your farm even more space efficient. Scarecrows are not used for keeping vultures away. They are an attempt to keep the chunk alive where your farm is located. Especially if you plan to leave the base or the farm area for long periods, you may want to add a scarecrow to help keep your crops growing. The Scarecrow, once crafted, can be placed on the soil or on top of another block. When you place it, the Scarecrow just appears as a wooden box. After about a minute or so, it will pop up in its Scarecrow form. It covers a chunk, which is about 16 blocks, but don't overthink this too much. Just dump it down in the middle or at the edge of your farm. Sometimes zombies will attack it, but it is pretty robust, and it will generally pop back up if destroyed. If you really want to assassinate it and wipe it off the face of the earth, then dig under it, removing its foundation, and it will be destroyed. If it does not vanish when destroyed, don't worry, the next time that you close and restart the game, the Scarecrow should be gone. Mushrooms do have a bit of confusion around them. Mushrooms also need water. They can grow anywhere, but that anywhere must be close to water. I have this example here. There is no water feeding this farm. I have mushrooms all over the place, on the soil, mushrooms on the farm plots, on the concrete, and on the sides of farm plots. Nothing grows. Here is the second location, not planted in soil, but with the close proximity to a water source. As you can see, the mushrooms are growing. Darkness Falls does currently have a lawnmower, or a lawn tractor as the Darkness Falls mod calls it. It is not something you will get early on, but once crafted through the metal workbench, you can use it to harvest many resources. Installing various mods into the lawnmower, you can collect grass, wood, flowers, and other crops. To activate the harvest function, press the F key, once to switch the lights on, and a second time to start harvesting. Your harvest will automatically go into the vehicle's inventory. If you have any questions regarding farming, please ask in the comments. I do actually read all of them. Thanks for watching, and I will continue the Darkness Falls farming video updates in the next one.